Trade Minister seeks to stabilize cooking oil prices. Before exporting coal, companies must fulfill domestic market obligation. Hello, good evening. It's Thursday, January 13, 2022. Market Headlines is ready to provide you information from business and economic. And with me, Fajar Wayong. You're watching Market Headlines. And let's start Market Headlines. Minister of State-Owned Enterprises Erick Thohir officially launched Food Soe Holding, ID Food. The holding aims to create an integrated food ecosystem from upstream to downstream. Minister of SOEs Erick Thohir officially launched ID Food, a food SOE holding to create an integrated food ecosystem from upstream to downstream. Holding food companies is also intended to improve supply chains.
Peluncuran ID Food, saya sudah tekankan dengan para direksi yang di ID Food, ini bukan peluncuran logo. Bukan hanya simbolik, tapi apa konkret resultnya, apa konkret hasilnya, dan saya minta seluruh direksi BUMN yang di sini hadir harus menjadi ekosistem itu.
The government established RNI Persero as the holding parent company for food SOEs through Government Regulation Number 118 of 2021, which was signed at the end of last year.
Semoga BUMN pangan, holding BUMN pangan dapat memberikan peran yang lebih pada ekosistem pangan nasional sehingga dapat hadir di tengah-tengah masyarakat Indonesia.
President Director of RNI Arif Prasetyo Adi hopes that the Food SOE holding can trigger the realization of three main goals. First, to support national food security. Second, create inclusiveness and welfare of farmers and breeders. Third, to become a world-class food company. IDX Channel reports. Meantime, the government highlighted the problem of expensive cooking oil prices in early 2022. Trade Minister Muhammad Lutfi admitted that he had received many complaints regarding the increase in the price of basic commodities since the end of 2021. Various indicators caused, one of which is the increase in crude palm oil prices. The Ministry of Trade itself is currently intervening. The goal is that the price of cooking oil remains available and affordable. In addition to the availability of goods, the price can be controlled at 14,000 rupiah per liter.
Yang goreng. Dan ini Bapak dan Ibu adalah fenomena yang kita akan hadapi di tahun 2022. Kenapa? Harga minyak goreng naik itu karena harga CPO-nya, crude palm oil-nya naik. Dan harga crude palm oil naik itu, kita juga mempunyai andil dalam kenaikan harga tersebut. Ada mekanismenya menggunakan mekanisme BPD PKS, kira-kira kita akan mensubsidi sekitar 3.000, kita siapkan buat 1,2 miliar liter untuk 6 bulan pertama tahun 2022, saya jamin harga akan di 14.000.
The Fiscal Policy Agency or BKF projects that the inflation rate in 2022 will remain under control. The inflation rate is projected to be in the range of target of 2 up to 4%.
The Fiscal Policy Agency or BKF projects that the inflation rate in 2022 will remain under control amid rising prices for leading commodities ranging from palm oil to coal. Head of BKF Febrio Kacaribu projects that the inflation rate will be in the target range of 2 to 4% with a median value of 3% in 2022. Febrio said the increase in commodity prices that boosted high inflation rates in various countries did not occur in Indonesia. It was noted that core inflation, which reflects people purchasing power, was monitored below 3%. The increase in the price of energy commodities such as oil and gas and coal is projected to continue until mid-2022. Meanwhile, nickel, palm oil and rubber will follow the trend of world economic growth. Meanwhile, for 2022, Febrio hopes that core inflation will start to improve. The improvement in the core inflation rate reflects the recovery in people's purchasing power. The core inflation component itself consists of gold jewelry and clothing and footwear components. IDX Channel reports.
And we're moving on to global update. U.S. inflation jumped 7% in December as prices rise. Meanwhile, the Canadian province of Quebec will charge a health tax to residents who are not vaccinated. More stories on today's International Minute. North Korea's leader was standing nearby as the country test-fired yet another hypersonic ballistic missile off its eastern coast, according to the state-run Korean Central News Agency. The Japanese military confirmed that distance, adding that the missile landed outside of their country's exclusive economic zone. The missile made a corkscrew maneuver and hit its ocean target 621 miles from the launch site, according to KCNA. The price of goods and services in the U.S. continued to rise at rates unseen in decades, jumping 7% in December, the seventh consecutive month in which inflation has topped 5%. The news represents a blow to the Biden administration and the Federal Reserve, which until recently have characterized soaring prices as a transitory phenomenon brought about by supply chain issues triggered by the pandemic. The Canadian province of Quebec will charge a health tax to residents who are not vaccinated against COVID-19. Quebec, which has seen the highest number of COVID-related deaths in Canada, is currently struggling with a surge in cases. On Tuesday, the Premier announced that it would be the first in the nation to financially penalize the unvaccinated. Argentina is facing a historic heat wave with temperatures soaring above 40 degrees Celsius, making the country for a while the hottest place on the planet, straining power grids and forcing residents to seeking sanctuary in the shade. With temperatures up around 45 degrees Celsius in parts of the South American nation, hundreds of thousands of people were left without electricity when power grids failed in and around populous capital city Buenos Aires. IDX Channel reports. President Jokowi inspects the readiness of facilities for Mandalika MotoGP event. Right after the break, stay tuned on market headlines.
Datu membawakan program berita News Screen yang menghadirkan informasi seputar ekonomi maupun juga bisnis dari dalam negeri.
Sebenarnya Fokraft ini tuh apa sih? Boleh deh dijelaskan.
Kalau Fokraft sendiri itu adalah platform edukasi online ya.
Perbincangan bersama sosok wanita yang menginspirasi.
Apa sih yang Kak Vina masih harapkan?
Diulas secara santai dan mendalam.
Diakses oleh masyarakat yang lebih luas dan kami terus berjuang.
Women's Talk setiap Jumat pukul 12.30 waktu Indonesia bagian Barat hanya di IDX Channel.
Dengan informasi terkini yang kami kemas dalam berita teraktual dan berkualitas.
Memberikan berbagai macam kebutuhan informasi.
Memberikan informasi ekonomi dan bisnis Indonesia juga mancanegara.
Merupakan hal penting dalam mendukung keputusan investasi Anda.
Saksikan program-program ekonomi dan bisnis terkini langsung dari sumbernya. Welcome back on Market Headlines. President Joko Widodo inspected a number of facilities in preparation for the 2022 Mandalika MotoGP event. Not only ensuring the readiness of the event, the President also hopes that the MotoGP event can have a positive impact on the economy around Mandalika.
President Joko Widodo inspected a number of facilities in preparations for the 2022 Mandalika MotoGP event. Arriving at Zainuddin Abdul Majid International Airport, Jokowi inspected airport facilities. The inspections was continued by checking the infrastructure of the airport Mandalika Bypass Road.
Kita juga ingin agar Mandalika ini tidak hanya urusan balap motor, tetapi juga memberikan efek ekonomi, memberikan efek pertumbuhan ekonomi kepada masyarakat. Oleh sebab itu, beberapa desa di sekitar sirkuit Mandalika telah dibangun homestay yang dibantu dari pemerintah pusat, disiapkan oleh pemerintah daerah. Sekarang siap 300 homestay. Kita harapkan nanti pada saat penyelenggaraan MotoGP semuanya terisi penuh sekali lagi, dan ini akan memberikan dampak ekonomi terhadap masyarakat di sekitar kawasan ekonomi khusus pariwisata Mandalika.
Not only reviewing the supporting infrastructure for the MotoGP event, Jokowi is also scheduled to inaugurate the launch of the tourism Soe Holding, which will be held at Kuta Mandalika Beach, Central Lombok Regency. IDX Channel reports.
The Coordinating Ministry for Maritime Affairs and Investment ensures that the easing of coal exports had begun on Wednesday night, January 12, 2022. Coordinating Minister for Maritime Affairs and Investment Luhut Binsar Panjaitan revealed in a cross-ministerial coordination meeting it was decided that 37 ships filled with coal would be ready to depart. For export, however, Luhut did not specify which 37 ships carried coal from any company. To be sure, the government will also start opening coal exports gradually. Meanwhile, companies that will be granted export permits are those that have fulfilled their DMO commitments. Luhut emphasized that this step was not a form of government inconsistency. Luhut continued this export relaxation was also given after the certainty of coal supply for power plants had been fulfilled. Meanwhile, one of the requirements that must be met before exporting coal is to fulfill the sales contract to PLN and its DMO obligation of 100% in 2022. Perusahaan gas negara is committed and consistent in realizing energy independence in the country through strengthening gas supply and expanding natural gas infrastructure. In the midst of the government and global community's efforts to achieve zero carbon emissions in 2050-2060, PGN sees this as an opportunity. Natural gas as one of the fossil energy products that is proven to be clean, environmentally friendly and efficient will have a strategic role in the transition process towards zero net emission. President Director of Perusahaan Gas Negara M. Haryo Yunianto said that as a company that focuses on the energy sector, PGN always opens space to optimize every opportunity that exists to meet energy needs, especially natural gas, which will certainly continue to increase.
Eropa pun sekarang mulai kembali, ya, saya dapat datanya, ya, gas yang ada di Norway yang dulunya diinjekkan ke dalam sekarang sudah harus dipakai lagi untuk kebutuhan market. Ya, artinya apa? Pipa gas yang dibangun dari Rusia, Nord Stream 2 ke Eropa Barat, juga ini dinanti-nantikan untuk bisa on stream. Artinya apa? Kebutuhan gas di Eropa pun akan sangat signifikan dalam masa transisi ini. Walaupun mereka mencanangkan net zero di tahun 2050 atau 2060 atau lebih cepat. Artinya apa? Kesempatan kita dalam masa transisi ini lebih menggunakan gas yang jauh lebih bersih dibandingkan dengan batu bara dan diesel.
Minister of Industry revealed that there were 1.2 million additional workers in 2021. The minister claims that the additional workers due to the recovery of the industrial sector.
The recovery of the industrial sector in 2021 increased the employment of the manufacturing industry. Minister of Industry Agus Gumiwang revealed that there were 1.2 million additional workers in 2021. This year, the Minister of Industry targets the absorption of workers to reach 20.84 million people or an additional 2.2 million workers.
Seiring dengan bangkitnya sektor industri pengolahan, dari dampak pandemi, ada tambahan penyerapan tenaga kerja sebanyak 1,2 juta orang di tahun 2021, sehingga jumlah total tenaga kerja di sektor ini kembali meningkat ke angka 18,64 juta orang.
Agus added qualified human resources will be able to encourage the 7 main industrial sectors in the Making Indonesia 4.0 agenda, namely the food and beverage industry, textiles and clothing, automotive, chemical, electronics, pharmaceutical, and medical devices. The contributions of the manufacturing industry to GDP in the third quarter of 2021 was 17.33%, the highest among other economic sectors. Meanwhile, on the employment aspect, the manufacturing industry sector is starting to show a recovery from the impact of the pandemic. IDX Channel reports.
Accra targets revenue to grow 25% in 2022. Market headlines will be back. Accra target.
Saya Mangivera Tjong dan rekan saya Wicky Adrian hadir dalam Power Breakfast.
Awali hari Anda dengan informasi dunia ekonomi yang diulas dari berbagai sudut pandang.
Indeks harga saham gabungan konsisten.
Simak pula analisa pasar modal dan inspirasi bisnis dari berbagai perusahaan rintisan. Power Breakfast, Senin sampai Jumat, pukul 8.00, hanya di IDX Channel.
Ya halo pemirsa, nama saya Mangivera Tjong. Saat ini saya menjabat sebagai presenter dan juga associate producer. Saat ini saya membawakan program IDX Session Closing, di mana di program tersebut saya menganalisa isu-isu ekonomi yang menarik, baik dari luar negeri maupun juga dari dalam negeri. Tentunya hingga saat ini saya masih terus belajar dan saya sangat menikmati profesi tersebut. Sebenarnya Fokraf ini tuh apa sih? Boleh deh dijelaskan.
Kalau Fokraf sendiri itu adalah platform edukasi online ya.
Perbincangan bersama sosok wanita yang menginspirasi.
Apa sih yang Kak Vina masih harapkan?
Diulas secara santai dan mendalam.
Diakses oleh masyarakat yang lebih luas dan kami terus berjuang.
Women's Talk, setiap Jumat pukul 12.30 waktu Indonesia bagian Barat, hanya di IDX Channel.
Melarang keras pengusaha dan perusahaan untuk melakukan ekspor batu bara ke luar negeri.
Kumpulan berita ekonomi dan bisnis dari dalam negeri.
Ini mutlak. Jangan sampai dilanggar dengan alasan apapun.
Mengungkap fakta dan data perekonomian secara mendalam.
Dunia kinerjanya akan sangat dipengaruhi oleh manage pandemi ini.
Senin sampai Jumat pukul 14.30 hanya di IDX Channel.
Welcome back on Market Headlines. At the Jakarta Composite Index intraday movement earlier today, JCI was open at the level of 6,645.7. And then approaching the closing time on the first session, the index was on the level of 6,637.72. And then the index was showing a strengthening trend by the second session closing time. The index was closed at the level of 6,655.39. And in short, Jakarta Composite Index went up 0.17%. And next, we're going to see the sectoral movement leading the dynamics of today's trading. We got infrastructure sector went up 1.9%. Industry sector went up 1.28%. Meanwhile, technology went down 3.33%, and property sector went down 0.32%. And moving on to top gainers and top losers, here are the key highlights from today's trading session. Aneka Tambang went up 1.55% to the level of Rp1,965 per share. Bank Rakyat Indonesia went up 0.72% to the level of Rp4,190. BBYB went up 7.49% to the level of Rp2,440 per share, and Smart Friend or Friend went up 9.2% to the level of Rp95 per share. Meantime, the top losers for today's trading, we got Arto went down 2.66% to the level of Rp7,375 per share. Adaro Energy went down 1.3% to the level of Rp2,280 per share. Bukalapak went down 2.39% to the level of Rp408 per share, and Amtek went down 6.98% to the level of Rp2,000 per share. And we'll see the intraday movement of rupiah towards US dollar. Open at the level of 14,309. Rupiah was also showing weakening trend towards US dollar, and it was closed at the level of 14,314. And in summary, rupiah went down 0.13%. Accra sees a positive outlook in 2022. The company targets revenue growth of around 20 to 25%, while gross profit is projected to grow 12 to 15%. AKR Corporindo or Accra targets revenue growth in 2022 of around 20 to 25%, while gross profit is projected to grow 12 to 15%, and earnings per share are believed to increase around 15 to 18%. The projection was conveyed by the President Director of Accra, Haryanto Adikusumo. He revealed in 2021, Accra has succeeded in scoring double-digit revenue growth amid supply disruptions and rising commodity prices. As is known, Accra's total revenue until the third quarter of 2021 grew to 17.25 trillion rupiah. Meanwhile, net profit by third quarter of 2021 was recorded at 796.99 billion rupiah, an increase compared to the same period in 2020 with 665.41 billion rupiah. He said that so far Accra sees a positive outlook on trade and distribution performance. The Gresik Special Economic Zone and the growth in the number of BP-AKR outlets will push Accra's performance in 2022 to double digits. IDX Channel reports. To boost performance in 2022, Vale Indonesia has prepared a capital expenditure of $120 million, or slightly lower than capex allocation last year at $130 million. In order to boost this year's performance, Vale Indonesia has prepared a capital expenditure of $120 million. This figure is slightly lower than the capex allocation last year at $130 million. According to Bernardus Irmanto, Chief Financial Officer of Vale Indonesia, this capex will be used for a number of purposes, including allocations for rebuilding Furnace 4, rejuvenating equipment, and developing mines. For capex, funding comes from internal cash. The rebuilding of Furnace 4 also has an impact on Vale's production. Irmanto said that with the 4 rebuilt furnace, which will continue until May 2022, nickel production this year will be affected. For information, during the first 9 months of 2021, Vale produced 48,373 tons of nickel inmate. This realization decreased by 13% from Vale's nickel inmate production figure in the same period in the previous year of 55,792 tons. IDX Channel reports. To improve this year's performance, Putra Raja Wali Kencana or Pura is ready to disburse capital expenditures of up to 68 billion rupiah. Pura's Managing Director Ariel Wibisono say that the capital expenditure will be used to add transportation equipment such as isotents, containers and accessories to support commodities and energy. He also assessed that the prospect of the logistics business in 2022 will be a momentum for changes in economic growth from the previous 3.7% to 5.5%. He also assessed that the growth of the logistics sector in 2022 will be driven by the performance of the manufacturing sector, especially the non-oil and gas industry, followed by the agriculture and forestry sectors. This can also be seen from the achievements in 2021, where the non-oil and gas processing industry contributors were the food and beverage industry at 38.4%, followed by the chemical and pharmaceutical industry 11.4%. Bukit Asam will soon start working on the coal gasification project into dimethyl ether this year. Cultivation of this project is carried out after the relevant parties have signed an agreement. Bukit Asam will soon start working on the coal gasification project into dimethyl ether this year. Cultivation of this project is carried out after the relevant parties have signed an agreement. Bukit Asam Corporate Secretary Apollonius Andwici explained Bukit Asam, Pertamina and Air Products had signed an amendment to the DME Development Cooperation Agreement, which took place in LA, United States, and was witnessed by the Minister of State-Owned Enterprises Erick Thohir. The coal gasification project is the result of the three-party cooperation project with an investment value of around 30 trillion rupiah. This project can produce 1.4 million DME per year by utilizing 6 million tons of coal. In addition to this gasification project, Bukit Asam is also working on the Sumsel 8 power plant with an investment value of $1.68 billion. This power plant is part of the 35,000 megawatt project and was built by Huadian Bukit Asam Power as an independent power producer. HBAP is a consortium between Bukit Asam and China Huadian Hong Kong Company. IDX Channel reports. And stepping aside from market condition as the efforts in achieving herd immunity is still going on, here it is an update data about COVID-19 vaccinations in Indonesia. And the news closes our market headlines today. Please enjoy our next program on IDX Channel, your trustworthy economic, business and capital market channel. I'm Fajar Wayong. Have a nice evening. Stay healthy.